for themselves so far. Despite whether they win or lose today, really, they are having a much better split. And I think that they're going to be a team that, with new players and stuff, is still having more room to improve than maybe some of these other squads. Shrimp is actually just recently kind of becoming the go-to guy over Chaser, now Altec. This is his first series today with the team, so we have to give them some time to adapt and really mesh, and then we'll see perhaps the true potential of the team.
That being said, it would feel awful nice to be 6-2 as compared to 5-3.
They would.
That is the dream for Dignitas. Cloud9, though, wants nothing to do with being 4-4, would much rather have that 5-3 record for themselves, needs to keep that upward trajectory if they want to be a competitor for the top of the table. The bans this time, again, Shen, Fiora, banned away by Cloud9. They don't want to deal with Someday on that hard carry again. They're also taking Caitlyn off the table, while Kennen, Zach, and LeBlanc are banned out by Dignitas. Galio, again, locked in for Cloud9, looking a lot like Game 1.
Yeah, it really is. And in Game 1, it was the Gragas Caitlyn response. Caitlyn has been banned away, so they won't be able to get that this time around. We have to remember how well Altec did in Game 1, dealing 30,000 damage throughout that game compared to around 10,000 from Sneaky, much more than the opposing players. And Caitlyn does allow you to really siege aggressively, to play very safely in these team fights and still pump out a lot of damage.
Well, they're gonna pick the Varus, it looks like, instead. Gonna go ahead and go with that one. It's been picked 3 out of 3 games now in this series so far. Very popular.
Cloud9 opted into Jhin versus Varus last time. They picked the Jhin over the Varus, so they certainly could go right back to that Jhin if they do so choose. Syndra, a blind pick, is something that you can go for, but a lot of people are pretty comfortable playing into this with Echo or Fizz, so it's not what you're expecting. And yeah, Jhin makes a lot of sense. I mean, when Cloud9 was happy to take it last time in the matchup, they will again, and now Keen is kind of forced to show us if he is comfortable playing Echo or Fizz into this, playing one of those assassins that can really kind of deal with Syndra very well.
And talking about Keen as a player, this is a guy who sort of has a reputation for playing weird stuff in solo queue and trying to figure out counter picks, and we know him as the infamous Urgot into Zed. So
he had a lot of different stuff. I mean, he was the guy who popularized Hecarim with home guards. He was a guy who played Graves mid. This is a guy who used Urgot as a Zed counter. Like, he can play a lot of different stuff, and it's looking like the answer for him for now is going to be Corki mid.
Corki, very strong after the changes they made to him, making him do almost all magic damage, even with auto attacks. Getting those Sorcerer shoes just turns those auto attacks into a HP destroying machine.
Yeah, and they buff some of his base damages, his attack speed and stuff, so has more AD, has more attack speed, more easily itemizing towards that magic pen and stuff. So Corki definitely very strong, and you can take exhaust pretty easily on this champion, which is going to help you out against that Syndra, who will be looking to combo you down.
Cloud9 pretty much needed to lock in that Syndra in the first part of the pick phase as well, considering it's been banned away in phase 2, both games so far. Kha'Zix also going to be banned away again this game. Lee Sin banned out by Cloud9, not allowing Shrimp back onto that big playmaker from game 1.
Yeah, so the two key adjustments from game 1 to game 3 here on Cloud9, where they are on the same side, is banning away the Caitlyn, banning away the Lee Sin. Those are two things that they're kind of targeting as what were the problems in that first game, and I tend to agree that Lee Sin really was what carried the early game, and Caitlyn was really what carried the late. So, will these two bans be alone enough to actually swing it in their favor? No, I don't think so, but it certainly will help.
Another Blitzcrank ban from Team Dignitas, seriously respecting the skill Smoothie has with the champion yesterday. Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. Smoothie had some awesome pulls. A lot of the time, that was demonstrated through his patience to allow them to be set up by other CC. You got to keep him off a playmaker like that, and if Blitz wants to succeed.
Blitz really changes the way that you have to play the game, right? Like, it's very annoying to play against this guy, especially when the Blitz is either even or ahead of you. He can put so much threat onto you just by simply walking forward. And Big, again, going back to the Morgana, and this was a pick that we always kind of associated with Olay, but Big is definitely making a bit of his own. I mean, he has played it now 4 to 5 times in the last 2 days.
And it worked well when we saw it in game number 1. The Black Shields were exactly where they needed to be. The threat of the bindings, he was part of that early roam that allowed his team to get ahead, gave Keen that 2-0 lead that kept Jensen down.
And the question is, does Sneaky still prioritize, playmaking support? And the answer, it looks like, is going to be no, going with that Lulu. There are a lot of answers to Morgana. Lulu certainly is one of them, and is going to be that strong supportive South champion that can buff up, either the Jhin or your massive front line with the Galio. I also think that something like a Zyra is actually a very good answer to Morgana because you can poke her out. You don't really care that much about the Black Shield because your plants can actually knock that off very quickly to open up for your root or your ultimate knockup. But deciding to go with a more supportive style, and if they are going Rengar, that makes a lot of sense because Lulu synergizes extremely well with Rengar.
Throw Rengar into the back line with his ulti as soon as he gets there. Wild Growth provides extra CC, extra safety too.
And that speed up is so powerful, right? You already have a bunch of bonus move speed when you are in that Rengar ultimate, and then Lulu hits you with the Whimsy. You go even faster. You can fly in there so incredibly fast, chase people down, find those picks, and it's going to be Renekton in the top lane against the Galio, so certainly should be a lane that someday can bully.
And this is the magic of the Gragas. The third game that we see that used as a flex pick. This time it will be heading into the jungle. And someday on that Renekton, he wasn't really able to do a lot against it in the last game because his opponents made sure of that. They kept Impact relevant, kept him at the point where he wasn't able to just be destroyed by the Fiora.
Yep. And I think that, if Impact can kind of get to the point where he has his triple Dorans, or he has an FAP that he's essentially clearing the waves for free with your Q, with that Winds of War, then you can kind of start to really neutralize the lane. But in the early levels, it's sometimes pretty difficult because your Q does not actually finish off those backline minions, and then you have to actually get in melee range to try to finish them off to pick up those last hits. Otherwise, you're going to just be ceding all that gold, and Renekton can really punish you in longer trades. Galio specializes in these quick trades. You hit him with the Winds of War, you taunt them up, you punch them, but after that, the longer and longer the trade goes, the worse it gets for you because your cooldowns are pretty long at those lower levels.
Heading into game number 3 now. Both teams know that this is the one that's worth all the marbles. Cloud9 trying to contend, get themselves up towards that very tip top of the scoreboard yet again. Dignitas, they're there to the surprise of a lot of people. Really want to stay there. We talked about yesterday, their loss to Immortals was not something that looked very good for them. In game number 1, it looked pretty solid because they had a really good performance. But game numbers 2 and 3 was not very convincing that this is a team that has everything together if they want to be a top contender. But now against Cloud9, they're looking good again.
Certainly are, and they have been very competitive throughout the split. Now going to be running this double marksman composition. They have a very beefy front line. They have protections for their marksman with this Morgana Black Shield, and keep them safe from that CC. So if you can get these two marksmen to a strong point, they certainly will be very threatening, and this is a composition that could really deal with that Galio and kind of attack the front line of C9. But that being said, I mean, if you misstep at all, if you can get caught by this Renekton, or sorry, by this this Rengar and this Galio composition, Syndra is going to delete you so fast. Like, if you get CC'd up as either of those marksmen, it's so hard to survive through the Syndra burst.
And just a moment ago, you heard the crowd's chants. You know who they're cheering for. Even back in game number 1, we saw the fan vote on the screen is about 80% for Cloud9, one of the biggest fan bases in North America. Fans love seeing these guys succeed, love seeing them win, improve as a team. And that is ultimately the goal, moving through Summer Split, trying to place as highly as you can, get that good seeding for playoffs, so you can make a run for Worlds later on in the year. Cloud9, remember, is also going to be one of our representatives at Rift Rivals in a couple of weeks.
They're going to be going alongside P1 and TSM. P1 definitely not in tip-top form right now, but TSM and Cloud9 have both been on an upward trend, and it's going to be exciting to see how those guys are actually going to be able to match up against some of the top European teams.
Well, before they do that, they do still have one last matchup here against Dignitas to deal with. Man, that is just such a good leash. That is the dream leash.
Yep, Corki Q, Renekton Q, pretty much means you instantly get that level 2. Look at Contract's health compared to Shrimp.
Yeah, Shrimp's actually full HP.
Yep, I mean, he has a much easier clear on it, plus he got a strong leash. I don't know if Jensen even gave Contracts any leash whatsoever. Rengar can be one of those champions that really does get very low on health in the early game on this clear, so it's not completely atypical. One of the common clears you can see from Rengar is simply you go 3 camps right back to base, and then you come out with your first buy. It's not a champion that can always do a full camp clear, but we'll see what Contracts ends up deciding to go for.
Impact pushing up against Someday early on here in the top lane. And one of our stories about Impact was his performance slipping this split, but so far in this series, he's been solid. The outplay in the 2v2 in game number 2. The fact that he was doing well for himself early on in game number 1. He seems to be coming back towards that form that a lot of people expected out of him, being one of those top-tier top laners.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good day today, but we definitely want to see the consistency from Impact. Impact, right? Because he is a guy who was, at a point really kind of considered the best in North America, had been really dominating opponents back when Gnar was very, very popular. And Gnar, to be fair, is actually kind of coming back into the meta. We've been seeing it in some of the other regions. EU LCS has had it a fair bit, so it'll be interesting to see if Impact actually does decide to go back to that, because that is really when the whole top die, like Impact smashing everyone thing was kind of happening, was him on that Gnar, dominating people.
Speaking of getting smashed, Jensen doing a very good job constantly forcing the aggression here onto Keen in the mid lane. You can see the big health difference between these two. Even though a corrupting potion was on for Keen, he's already gone through all the stacks. He's having to just chug it.
Contracts is up here. Well, does Impact have enough mana for a taunt? It looks like he does really flat.
Handling it. Flash into the taunt, into more CC coming up. Contracts needs just a little bit of damage.
Sunday's okay, I think, yeah.
Cloud9 can't seal the deal. Not quite. Someday getting himself away with the flash.
They just don't have enough CC actually left to be able to chase him down. If he had the punch to actually follow up the taunt, I think that would have worked, but in the end, it's a commitment of both flashes for just the one summoner out of Someday. So now it's going to be on Shrimp. We'll see what he can get done, because Shrimp is level 4, has already gone back to base, has that flash available, and he could look to make a play.
And Someday decides to go for a cull in the top lane, recognizing what you talked about with the Dorian stacking on the Galio, likely turning things into just a farm fest, saying, look, if you want to farm, I'm going to farm effectively.
Yeah, farm effectively, give yourself a little bit of that life steal too. The life back on hit, so should help him sustain a bit there.
Ooh, Jensen showing exactly why he's one of the top mid laners in North America. The top in some people's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has the best laning phase. The argument kind of comes down more to how does he perform outside of it? Is he as clutch, how does he perform in those big situations? And that's what most of the Jensen detractors will point to, the fact that he hasn't won a championship yet, the fact that he hasn't had that international success. So we'll see if he can erase some of those doubts throughout this split. Cloud9 has been kind of getting closer and closer.
Meanwhile, watching Sneaky and Altec, in both the previous games, Altec's been the one who's come out on top in the laning phase. He's always had more farm, been doing well for himself, not really under threat, but Sneaky has also had some great plays of his own. We've seen him escape death in a couple different situations, flashing over walls, returning fire with the curtain call. He really does know his way around the Jhin, like you pointed out when he locked it in game number 2. Fun champion to watch him on. Gets some decent damage there, down onto Altec. Black Shield going to be blocking the root from the Deadly Flourish. Ignite still ticking onto Altec, but Sneaky having to be careful. Drop low himself.
Yeah, really aggressive trading there, and Smoothie even blew his flash, so the advantage in the trade certainly goes to Dignitas, both in health and just in Summoners blown. Now the fact that Shrimp has flash and bot lane has a support without that summoner, I really want to see Shrimp heading down to that bot side, because that should be easy pickings for him.
Both junglers still sitting on 0-0-0 scorelines. Previous games, we would have seen these guys
level
go
6.
Crazy so far. Jensen not quite having the damage. Only a Dorian's Ring and a Lost Chapter. The ult doesn't have that punch quite yet. Keen thankful for that. Jensen a little bit bummed, of course. The Null Magic Mantle on Keen helps deal with that as well. Going for that super early Hex Drinker. Normally you see Corki, you think he's going to go for Eternity Force. Sometimes you even see something like a Gunblade, but getting that early laning power, that early protection against the all-in, very effective against the Syndra.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because even though the Trinity Force is kind of that super efficient DPS item you want to build up, if you're just getting bullied around in lane, you're giving up too much to actually get there. So building that early Hex Drinker can give you a lot of safety in lane, but even with that, Jensen honestly has been posturing so aggressively. Keen has been doing well to keep the lane even, but the pressure is very heavily in Jensen's favor right now.
Just look at how far back he's keeping Keen. He will not let Keen anywhere near these minions, making sure he doesn't spend a single spell on him.
This is level 6 on the Gragas. Not going to commit to it fully. He could go back and look for Jensen. There's no actual C9 wards on this side, and that's why you see Jensen hugging the other side of the river so heavily. There's lots of wards up there, so he's always going to play the left side of the lane, knowing that the only real safe entrance is down here from the right. So if Gragas shows, he's just going to run straight up to it.
Contracts clearing out his red. It is warded though, so Shrimp's going to make a trip down here, try to see if he can steal it away, but a fast secure by Contracts, making sure that no sort of shenanigans like that's happening.
And they know where Gragas is now. They saw that barrel in there, so Jensen not really exposing himself at all. Good vision control, both from Contracts and Jensen. Contracts plays very heavily around mid lane oftentimes, prioritizing getting vision so that Jensen can play aggressively. And he deserves a lot of the credit for how strong Jensen can get in these lanes, because he's the one often protecting him with the warding and allowing him to really make some of those aggressive situations happen.
And now it's C9 moving to potentially steal the enemy red buff. Jensen just yoinks it away, and it's secured just like that.
Really nice combo. Just able to burst that down with the smite. They get both reds there onto the Renekton, or sorry, on the Rengar. And Big now heading back to bot. He has been getting some warding done of his own. You can see the 3 deep wards he has placed on the red side jungle of Cloud9. A lot of this game really is down to the vision control and knowing where your opponents are, and that's why we're kind of sitting in this 0-0 scenario right now, because the junglers have been so well tracked by the supports and by each other.
Package up on Corki as well. Those big golden rockets on the Arcade Corki skin. I mean, he's ready to make a delivery if he finds the opportunity, but remember that it is time gated. About 2/3 of that time passed so far.
He's still without his flash. You know, this is something that I will kind of criticize a little bit from Dig. I do think that's something where you could have set up a play, even with that package, right? You have the package picked up by Keen. You have level 6 in flash on Shrimp. You have no flash on Smoothie, and Lulu is very squishy at this stage in the game. Like, that is a dive that you should be able to pull off. If you can pull off a kill on the bot side, then you have access to the Infernal Dragon, which is such a big objective in these early stages. So I do want to see Dignitas putting some pressure there.
Well, they do have a ton of wards at the bottom side of enemy jungle. If anybody's moving through there, they're going to see it coming. So they decide to just skip the kill somebody step, go straight for the Infernal Drake.
Looks like it's going to work. I don't think Contract is going to be here in time at all. He's over on the Krugs, so picking up a pretty easy Infernal for themselves. We'll see if Contracts can actually have a response, because C9 has had a double pink ward down here. They made sure that there's no wards on those Krugs. So there's a pink ward in that bush, a pink ward in the tri-brush, and this is the setup for a potential Contracts gank with his ultimate.
Flourish comes out, goes
that
right in between them.
I think Contracts probably pops the ult and they go for it. But they did not, so we'll see if they can set something up anyway.
Keen and Shrimp working towards that blue buff. Going to keep giving that one over to Keen, so he's got more rocket spam all day long. Corki's so very effective at just clearing waves away once he has that blue buff. No real worries there in that department, but Contracts trying to secure some vision, grabbing himself a Scuttle Crab to keep his bottom lane safe as they're now pushed up. Infernal Drake is going to be the second one this time around. We might just get 3 games in a row where the same type of Drake spawns back to back to back.
Yeah, and this is one, though, where I think when it's Infernal, the teams are not okay just giving it up, right?
Yeah.
We saw Triple Ocean go over them. We saw all the Earth Dragons going over to C9, and I think that Dignitas will try to fight for this.
Behind enemy lines, Cloud9 looking to start things off. Big in some trouble, having to try to flash away from these bullets, but they're still able to find the first blood for Cloud9. Contracts cashing in on that one. Someday going to be tanking these guys for now. Pop's getting himself firsted down. Jensen grabbing the kill. Cloud9 find themselves 2. Looks like they're about to make it 3. All-Tech will not stand against this long double kill for the Syndra. Tanking the turret aggro, barely going to be kept alive by the heal from Sneaky. Dignitas gets nothing in return.
Oh, such a good dive there from Cloud9. They set up the play, get 3 kills with no response coming out of Dignitas there. Not able to actually have that same effectiveness. Galio and Rengar using that first ultimate to really great effect.
And Galio synergizes so well with Assassins jumping in like that.
Yeah, it really does, and they're faster on this play. You know that they're looking to set this up. The TP going to be coming in very, very quickly from both top laners. As soon as it does, land Contracts flashes out actually of that Morgana ultimate to unleash himself, and then Impact going in. You have the empowered W from Contracts to break the Renekton stun. Very easy to turn that around, and then Shrimp is coming from base. Keen is late on the play. 3 members dead before they can really even respond.
Cloud9 going to enjoy an almost 2,000 gold lead off of that one. They didn't get the turret in the process, so that's still available for contest, but 3 for 0 is a huge momentum swing for these guys.
And the kill's going to Jensen. That is so big, and I think that Infernal Dragons are even more important when you have these sort of assassins in the game and knowing the next Infernal is in. Because when you're playing a champion like Syndra, if you can hit the damage threshold where your full combo, essentially 100 to 0 is the opponent, that is so good. And the Infernal can sometimes push you over the edge.
Right, a combo like
As
that.
a wave breaks out in the
Yeah,
stadium.
the crowd's into it, man. Riding the Cloud9
Not an
wave.
Ocean Dragon, it's Infernal.
Yeah, they should have done this in game number 1.
Yeah.
Crowd's not properly role-playing.
What should they do for the Infernal? Like make a campfire or something?
I don't know.
That sounds like
you
fire
have
hazard.
you have a bonfire in here, but I think we have a fire marshal in here who'd probably
Yeah,
be pretty upset about that. That's not going to work.
We'll stick with the wave on second thought.
All right, let's just leave it as it is.
Yeah.
Accept it for what it's going right now. And Dignitas trying to get themselves that turret first blood, but I don't think it's going to be happening before Sneaky can find it here in top lane. Having to reload the gun for a second, and then should secure this one. Smoothie and Jensen keeping their opponents at bay mid, and Sneaky's got what he came for top side.
Got the solo gold as well, but Shrimp may finally pull the trigger here and look to set up a play, but Impact is faster.
Cloud9 coming around. There's that synergy between Rengar and Lulu you were talking about. Azale Big getting himself bursted down for some big damage as Keen's on the run. And Dignitas has no way to respond yet again. Cloud9 fully in control.
Yeah, Dignitas was looking to set up their own play, but Cloud9 just pulled the trigger faster. Shrimp was looking to get in there with the flank, but Contracts goes in with the ultimate. Impact is there to follow up, and Shrimp is now out of position to defend his teammates. So they're going to get the kills. They're going to get another turret here, and it looks like Impact should even be able to defend bots. So this game is just snowballing very, very heavily for Cloud9.
Cloud9 again taking all, giving nothing. Dignitas, no chance to claw back into this one so far.
Yeah, and you can see Shrimp was down by that Raptor brush, but Contract was already flying in from the top. Big just gets deleted by Jensen, and Shrimp can now not even enter the fight as the rest of his team is very, very low.
Ooh, Keen.
Good sidestep.
Barely sidestepping away from that one. Package not going to be able to have that delivery yet again. Always a bad feeling on Corky. Want to get those off, make big plays with them, but a lot of the times, especially early on in the game, you just can't find the angle or the opportunity.
Yeah, that's why one of the things I really like when people do with the package is you actually just kind of go hunting your opponent's jungle, right? Go in, see if you can find the jungler, see if you can find someone clearing a camp at low HP, you know, steal away a camp, do something with it, because even if you find a situation that you don't like yourself in, you have the package to escape, right?
Right.
So you can kind of use it just as a scouting tool to kind of get in there and see if there's anything that you can get done, because people play too respectfully around it in lanes. As soon as you hear that package sound, everyone pretty much just backs off, and you're almost never able to make something happen in that lane.
Also uninterruptible, as opposed to the normal Valkyrie, which can be stunned out of. That one's just going where it aims to go once it starts. Dignitas grabbed himself their first turret of the game there in the mid lane. Gonna get a little bit of extra control over the map from that one, but still behind by about 3,000 gold. Infernal Drake spawning in 10 seconds. That's the advantage they have so far. If they can build this up to a 2-0 difference as opposed to 1-1 all evened up, that's going to be a very large difference between the outcomes here.
It really will, and that's really the only advantage that they have right now. I mean, it's again a tale of two junglers. Shrimp is showing donuts on the scoreboard, just hasn't been able to find any way to get in. They're going to go for the engage again. Galio is here.
First call opened up. Big has to be escorted out, but Sneaky weaving those bullets in between opponents
wants
right
more.
past the body block. Takes down Big. They'll take the blue buff away almost, but Keen's got the secure. Alltech heading back down towards the bottom turret. They know that Cloud9 has secured this one.
Yeah, they're able to get that Infernal. Well done. Get the kill on the Big, who has been having a rough game for himself. Very squishy on this Morgana, getting taken down again, and now C9 can feel the pressure this bot side turret, and that was their only real advantage, was the Infernal Dragon, looking to stack those neutral objectives, but again, Contract's faster on the play, goes for the initiation, and he has 100% KP this game, is doing very well again here for Cloud9.
By the way, Azale, 3 games in a row, 3 Drakes in a row.
Yeah.
Triple Infernal would potentially be on the table. Of course, neither team can get all 3 now, but that's still going to be another objective that if Dignitas stays this far behind in the game, they're going to feel really bad about giving up. Someday, potentially catching Contracts out, but the heroic entrance going to be coming in. Big
Gets the
around the
binding.
side, still looking to finish off Contracts. Gets him. Utilizing the power of the ulti now. Can they find impact as well? Sunday so ferocious on this Renekton. The winds of war will blow, but they will not find their mark. A double kill for Big. And Dignitas looks to take the Rift Herald.
Yeah, they're going to rake the Rift Herald. That is big for them. And unfortunately, Someday actually didn't pick up those kills. Would have really loved to see him get that so we could have more of a chance to really bully out Impact. But still, getting the gold on their team is very nice. And they're going to be able to take this Rift Herald and hopefully try to turn that into another turret, maybe on the top side where they're prepping that minion wave. And that would close that gold gap quite a bit.
Big must have heard you talking about him having a rough game. Had to pad the stats a little bit.
There you go.
I'm not the one with any kills. That's my top laner. Shrimp will pick up the Rift Herald for himself. Putting it on the jungler means it's easy to roam it around the map, drop it wherever you need it. We'll have to see if they can find any opportunities to use it, because it can be difficult when you're this far behind, because you're not the one deciding the momentum of the game. You're not the one choosing the tempo. So those opportunities have to be made with extra close attention.
Yeah, and if all the waves are pushing against you, then your opposing team has so much time to react if you're having to drop it pretty far back, so that can be tough for them. We definitely want to see Dignitas make a play before they drop it. If you can kill someone off, you're essentially guaranteeing that first Rift Herald and opening up an opportunity to even get another one with it.
Sneaky moving up, Contracts and Jensen right behind him. Cloud9. This is what we talked about earlier, Azale. This team familiar with being ahead in game. As Lulu, of all people. Okay, so we got supports stealing kills, we got supports stealing red buffs. These guys are straight up thieves this game.
He's like, all right, he has 2 kills. Well, I have the red buff.
I'm about to kill him with this red buff.
1v1 me in the river, bro.
Yup, 1v1 Baron Pit. It's not even spawned yet. It's just an arena.
Yep.
Contracts getting a decent roller down there onto Keen, but nobody around to follow up with that one. C9 really pushing the pace of this game forward. Deadly Flourish sidestepped again. Big doing a good job of avoiding those at least, but their jungle is danger territory now.
It really is. They have no vision in that kind of inner circle near the Baron Pit. C9 is trying to take control of that, and if they can maintain control, the wards on C9's blue side jungle are going to expire there too, and then that Baron really does become a dark and scary place.
Keen and the rest of Dignitas trying to find a way to make anything happen for themselves in this game, but they seem to have been just relegated to a viewer position almost in this game because it's always Cloud9 dictating what's going to be happening next.
Well, something good going for them is that Triforce now. Keen has the rank 2 ultimate, the Triforce, the Sork Boots. That has been traditionally what you talk about as this really big point of power for Corki. So he is going to be trying to look to get something done with this. If he can fight around that, that would be good for him. But Jensen's already on 2 items, so that makes it pretty tough.
And you know, even though Impact is stacking armor at the start here, only now starting to work on magic resistance against that Corki, Ninja Tabbies are actually effective at stopping the auto attack damage still. The armor's not going to be factored in that much.
Yep.
The passive auto attack reduction still counts versus Corki.
Oh, bot side looking for the ult.
Wants to make that play. Somedays good in the 1v1, but I don't know about a 1v2. Heroic entrance right back down into the ground. Someday walking himself away from now. For now. Impact and Contracts not able to find that kill means they convert those resources to the bottom lane to find nothing.
I don't know if Impact actually wanted to go for that ultimate. I feel like it would have been better spent just trying to get in front of Someday, try to hit him with some of that CC, because Someday's running straight away, right? So you're actually kind of just buying time for him, unless he's in an empowered Bola and you can use that to CC chain into the ultimate. The ultimate is not going to be very effective.
Rift Herald summoned up by Dignitas here in the top lane, wanting to just use it to secure this outer turret if they can. Minion wave coming up. Sneaky wants to stop these guys, but Rift Herald doesn't really have a reputation for caring too much about champions. The problem is, doesn't really have a reputation for being able to defend its back either.
Yeah.
Sneaky takes that one down before it can even do the damage.
And Sneaky got a lot of damage down on it before it did its charge, and the damage of its charge is actually based off of its current HP. So the fact that he got those shots in and actually hit the back of it before it charged the turret means that the turret will survive.
Good plays there from Cloud9, making sure they mitigate the effect of that objective overall. Next Infernal Drake spawning in 40 seconds. You can see Dignitas getting themselves back as a group so they can properly prepare for that, be in position to try to stop Cloud9 from grabbing that one. They need this second Infernal Drake for themselves to make up for some of this gold deficit.
Yeah, they certainly would like to be able to get that, but Cloud9, they're definitely going to be looking to take it away with Rengar and Syndra and even the Jhin, who gets so much AD through his passive that he gets even more out of these Infernal. Like, all 3 of those champions are going to get a ton from it. Especially if Rengar can ever actually fully stack his passive and get those 5 stacks, then you get so much bonus AD from that, and it works in addition to that Infernal Dragon.
Cloud9 setting up a trap here, maybe. Blue Trinket placed down. Contract's going to be caught out a little bit. Heroic entrance, knocking up a couple. All-Tech already dead. Sneaky grabbing the kill. Contracts back into the middle of this fight, and Big is down now too. Someday Keen and Shrimp in full retreat. One last shot, the fat man's out of there. Keen has to try to jump himself out. The Valkyrie to stay safe for now. Deadly Flourish finding the mark. Bola going to be there too. CC into CC into CC into see you later. Jensen, unstoppable.
And with that extra kill on Akeen, C9 say, forget the dragon. They're heading over towards Baron. We'll see if they can actually rush this down. Someday does have his ultimate available. Some of them are a little bit low, but this would be so hard for him to get in there and get anything done. We'll see if he decides to try. May feel like he needs to go for the miracle. I think he's going in.
This is a highlight reel play or it's a disaster. One or the other. Someday right there into the mix. Going to be polymorphed. Still trying to find the damage, but he won't get anyone. Gives him an extra 300 gold. Does finally get kill credit onto Impact, who dies to the Baron damage afterwards. He goes 1 for 1, but Cloud9 will take Baron after a phenomenal fight.
Such a good initiation. It looked like they weren't quite on the same page as Contracts was going in, as the rest of the team was going out, but then the immediate follow-up from the Galio stuns multiple members. Altec is dead before anything has happened, and then Dignitas just has to be in full retreat. And the CC out of these guys, so well done. Contracts landing the empowered bowl onto Shrimp allows them to pick that up. And now Dignitas trying to rush down this Infernal. Stolen away.
And Deadly Flourish onto your jungler. Contracts showing up so big right there, trying to chase Altec down if he can. Going a bit too far. Jensen coming in to make sure it's a 1 for 1 at least. Big in some trouble, taken down by the auto attack. Who needs spells when you can hit him with that extra little bit of the basic? As Keen gets himself stunned up. Not quite the follow-up showing up just yet. Shrimp looking to go for sneaky, but that Jhin is unstoppable. Flash into the shot. Double kill.
4th shot there.
0 and 5 on this Jhin. Sneaky is going crazy. Jensen 7-0 and 4 on the Syndra. He's not doing too bad himself. Carries this series, Azael.
It really has been all about the mid laners, all about the AD carries. These guys getting so strong, and now Someday popping the ultimate, trying to do something, trying to hold on to this turret, but I don't know if they're going to let him.
He's not doing anything. He's just polymorphed until he's going to be taken down. Wild
Galio coming in,
keeping him alive, and Sneaky is godlike on this Jhin. At the end of game number 1, Azael, you talked about, can Altec be a consistent performer after having that great first game showing? Right now, Sneaky is the one who's showing himself to be such a good AD carry. His performance on Jhin this game has had so much damage, so much presence.
And again, it all started around this Infernal Dragon. Such a long fight. They feel they need to force the objective, but in goes Contracts. That was smited to 47 HP there by Shrimp. Contracts didn't even use his smite. He gets it with actually the leap, killing it off. Very, very close margins there, but Cloud9 get that, and they get everything else in the ensuing fight. Sneaky and Jensen so fed, can just pile in and continue to get these kills. They're able to take down Shrimp, they get off Keen with that 4th shot, and now another fight breaking out the mid lane.
Sneaky having to retreat here. Deadly Flourish fired off again, gonna be sidestepped, curtain call opened up. The roar has sounded. Contracts looking for a chance to get in here. 4th shot blocked up by Big. Contracts leaping in. Staying just fine for now. Stun comes out, doesn't find its way onto anyone. Deadly Flourish roots up Keen. Earlier, Azael, Dignitas needed some kills, then they needed some turrets, now they need a miracle because Cloud9 is so far ahead and they're not stopping. Baron still for 35 more seconds, pushing down the mid lane.
Yeah, and Cloud9 is not going to stop. They're just going to force this. Dignitas needs to engage right now to have any chance, but Galio is zoning them. Somebody looking to come around for the flank, but the turret is already dead, and they need a miracle. As you said, they get a big Verisalt there. Somebody can't even go in.
Impact's locked up, but what does it matter? That is a tanky Galio. Cloud9 just playing this one back for the time being. Someday popped his ulti, but he can't get into the fight at all. Inhibitor's still under threat. A little bit more damage will take it down. They find the objective they're looking for. Now backing themselves away again. Someday with no ultimate is not nearly as much of a threat.
Yeah, Someday popped that ultimate. Couldn't even find a way in, and Big is just erased.
This Morgana is not having the effect that they needed it to have like it did in game number 1. Cloud9 with 2 Infernal Drakes on that Syndra. You brought it up. That can be what pushes you over the edge and getting the 100-0, but I'm pretty sure that Jensen could have gone through 2 of those health bars.
Yeah,
with that damage.
Big has no MR. He is 1,400 health. That's like a QW, and you're dead pretty much from Syndra. And if he wants to extend the ultimate, there's nothing that you can do to survive.
Pretty sure it's harder for Jensen to kill the red buff at this point. Big is just not in a spot where he can survive any amount of this damage. His entire team, 13,000 gold behind. The best person on the team is sitting at 1, 2, and 0 in terms of where he's standing right now. And with only a Trinity Force, a Hex Drinker, and a Zeal,
yeah, I mean,
aren't going to do it.
The Trinity Force would have been threatening a while ago, but Jensen's on 3 items now. Cloud9 looking to close this one out very quickly. 7,000 gold on the Baron power play. It has been all about the snowball in these 2 games, and it's looking like it again in the third as Cloud9 closing in on this final inhibitor.
Rengar roar sounds, Big's gonna be brought down. Impact coming forward, looking to channel that taunt. Sneaky knocked back
in the back.
Someday for the flank. Looking to go for Jensen if he can, but he's already legendary, taking down Shrimp, the heroic entrance. As now they're going to be able to burst down Someday. Legendary for Sneaky, more damage coming through. All tech locked up, rooted down, taken out. Keen on the run. Impact still trying to find the taunt, can't quite get it. But 1 versus 3 is not a situation that saves a game. Cloud9 on to the Nexus turret. Sneaky still alive, 9-0 and 6. There is no way for Keen to possibly hold this. Jensen and Sneaky and Impact far too much of a threat. The Nexus itself now exposed. Super minions wailing on it, and Cloud9 will take down Dignitas and continue to contend for a top spot in the North American LCS.
Both teams going to be tied at 5-3 after week 4 here. A Cloud9 with a strong weekend for themselves, and Dignitas 0-2 this weekend. They lose to Immortals. They win the first game in that series. They lose the next 2. Same story again today against Cloud9, as they are found wanting against some of the toughest competition the NALCS has to offer.
And what did we hear Sneaky say at the start of this series? That Dignitas sometimes comes out of the gate swinging, but then they lose that momentum. He said, we want to make sure we're the ones who derail them. And today, they definitely contributed to knocking Dignitas out of that conversation.
I mean, we talked about game number 1, how much damage Alltech was putting out on the Caitlyn, you know, almost tripling Sneaky's damage. This is essentially the reverse of that. The Jhin putting out almost 23,000 damage to the 8K or so of Alltech. Sneaky was massive this game once he got ahead, but Contracts did a fantastic job of putting them in that position. Really good early moves, really good early ganks, and Jensen, I really do think, was putting on a show in mid lane as well. You know, bullying out Keen, playing extremely aggressively, and Cloud9 can certainly be happy with these last 2 games.
I mean, if we want to put the damage of that game in context, Impact did more damage than everybody on Dig sans Keen.
Feels bad.
I mean, he was constantly just this massive team fight meteor in every fight, crashing into the ground, disrupting everything. And the synergy between him and Contracts, every time Contracts was in there, he pulled the trigger at the right time to make sure he was disrupting people as well as keeping Contracts safe.
Yeah, and Impact was able to essentially hold Someday even in the lanes, right? Just pushing out those waves, never allowing the Renekton to really bully him out to find those opportunities to take over the game, because he was down in farm. He was in a position where the matchup can be pretty tough if Renekton can get going. But Impact did a very good job of neutralizing him in this game, and also in the Renekton versus Fiora game, just neutralizing him, allowing the rest of the C9 map to be effective, to get the work done to win the game. And that really is Impact at his best, is when he is able to hold on without help from the team while the rest of the map flourishes.
Impact was returning to form. We talked about how good Sneaky's performance was in game number 3, and the consistency of those two is what this team needs to see, so that it's not always Jensen playing out of his mind, having to be the carry. When those two can step up and provide that level of threat as well, that's when this Cloud9 team goes from looking okay or good to looking like a well-oiled machine.
Definitely agree, and they're definitely doing that this week.
Well, for a first-hand account on the series, let's go ahead and hear from Pastry Time and Cloud9's mid laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I'm here with Jensen, mid laner of Cloud9. Tough series there, it seems like, especially after game 1. How'd you guys kind of rally back and make sure you won the next 2 games?
I think we just swapped up the picks a bit for the third game, tried to go for some better early game, because we struggled a lot early game against them. They played really well early, and I think they had advantages in the early game mostly, so it was really hard for us to transition it into a mid game. So we just kind of swapped our picks up a little bit, and we took it from there.
And it does feel like Cloud9, you guys are certainly ascending as things are getting better and better each week, but it hasn't been that easy of a time to start off your split. And now you've been playing amazingly. If you just look at the numbers, your numbers are pretty insane. But from your perspective as, maybe the best performing player on the team, how do you guys kind of move the rest of it around and help the rest of the team find success?
I think I don't really necessarily know what it is we're doing wrong, but I think the other teams have just improved a lot during the offseason. For example, I think last split we were one of the top teams easily, because the other teams weren't, like the bottom tier teams weren't that good. But I think they all improved a lot right now. So a lot of the teams are giving us a hard time, like just throughout the game. So we're just trying to figure out our own style and like what works best for us, and just try to get better, basically.
Well, unfortunately for you guys, you have some very tough opponents next week. And if all the teams are causing at least some sort of trouble, what do you think of TSM and CLG, your opponents for the next week?
Well, we played them first week and we went 0-2, so that didn't go too well. So I'm hoping that we can, swap it up a bit and go 2-0 this next week. But we have a lot to work on, I think. I don't think we're probably not as good as them right now, but I think there's a lot we can take away from these games, and hopefully we can beat them next week.
Well, thank you very much, Jensen. And great work there for Cloud9, getting the victory on the day. But we are going to pass that back to the analyst desk to wrap up the series.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Cloud9 will be happy to have won games 2 and 3 and come away with the victory here at the end of the weekend. But for Dignitas, losing both of their series this weekend with a Game 1 win followed by 2 consecutive losses is going to be tough to stomach for them. Granted, it is against tough opponents.
Yeah, so obviously their opponents were good this week, but it is a scary pattern a little bit where you seem to have these really dominant Game 1s, because it's not just like, oh, close game, close game, close game. They seem to really understand teams coming in, and then whether the other team adapts or they start getting nervous or who exactly knows, but they do feel like they start playing a little worse in the second and third game.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just for some context here, both of these teams are now at 5-3 in terms of match records following this series, but Dignitas is sitting at a 13-10 game score, right? And that's including these victories that they're getting in the 3-game losses, while C9 is sitting at 12-7 in their game score. So a pretty large discrepancy in terms of win percentage in games for two teams that are now tied in the standings.
It is that kind of situation that we saw previously with a couple of teams where they're not winning super convincingly, and I think that's one of the things that people always kind of held against Dignitas is that while some days a beast and Shrimp can be really aggressive, Keen hit or miss a player a little bit. Lod was a little bit of a hit or miss player. Alltech in now, the fact that you're still making roster substitutions when it feels like you're one of the top teams,
right,
are these kinds of things that you don't really see that much. Like TSM, CLG, C9, and Immortal, excuse me, are all the 4 teams above them who are pretty much sticking with the same roster.
Yeah, very much so. But let's zero in on this third game in particular and take a look at how it fell in the way that it did. Once again, the Corki coming in as a response to Syndra. No real surprise there, except for the fact that Syndra is in the hands of Jensen. And when I think of a few different champions that I don't want him to have, Orianna and Syndra are 2 that jump to mind pretty much immediately.
It did seem like Syndra had kind of fallen out of the meta for no reason. It was something that was always highly contested in Korea, but it wasn't highly prioritized here in North America, and it feels like a couple of the most dominant mid laners are starting to pick her back up again.
We saw it on Bjergsen today.
Bjergsen had it today. I think he got it tomorrow, or excuse me, yesterday.
Yes, he also got it tomorrow, in case any of you are wondering.
Probably a solo queue game, guys. Heads up.
Mark is clairvoyant.
Yeah,
anyway.
But it is a champion that was fine this entire time, was not super picked for some reason, and now it's coming back in. And it's a great pick for some of these teams that really need to pick up a W because it gives you early game pressure, it gives you playmaking, it scales just fine, and it's a comfort champion for a lot of people.
And in particular for the mid laners that are, performing to an extreme, right? Again, when we look at Bjergsen, Froggen, and Jensen, all 3 of them topping pretty much every statistic table for mid laners and are clearly outclassing the rest of the field. So if I can put an early game powerhouse like Syndra in the hands of one of those guys and give him just a little bit of support, then more often than not, it's going to net me some very large advantages. I do want to push this into some replays. 13.5 minutes in. We're going to jump to the bot lane here. C9 picking up 3 for O on this dive.
And it's exactly what you want to see. The fact that this is not based on the mid laner at all, but Jensen is still making his way down here. The dive starts off pretty early on. Jin being able to contribute from far away, one of the reasons he's come flying back in the meta as well. They get the first kill, and then it's Someday stuck underneath this turret. Here comes Jensen, able to give that last bit of backup that they really need to bring the damage to finish off Someday. Now Alltech's just all left alone under the turret. Not
How did I get here?
Yeah. He's like, I had a teammate a second ago. I don't know where they went.
Guys.
And then Keen just falling a little bit too slowly on the roam. And this is a great thing if you're a C9 fan, because these are the kinds of plays that you need to be able to make consistently at a high level to actually compete not only just domestically at the top, but internationally. These are the kinds of plays every region will force on you over and over as soon as they get summoners down or TP advantage, whatever it is.
I love that little nugget that you threw right into the beginning, that this play was not off the back of Jensen. Yes, he rotates over to support the team, but what have we been looking for out of Cloud9 this summer is for them to create plays without Jensen and to push for victories without him. And there's a nice example of them capitalizing on the bot lane kills. Now I want to push ahead to 22 minutes. This is a 4 for 0 for C9 in the mid lane plus the Baron. This will just put an end to the game.
And Rengar is still a viable champion, especially when you combo it with the Galio. It's something that people need to take a little bit more care against in the future because it has a lot of initiation potential. And Rengar's big problem is that sometimes he gets blown up. Taken care of a little bit with the Galio pick, and with that engage, it opened up the flank. Jensen was able to instantly blow up all tech right at the start of that fight, and then it's this extended chase down sequence where you have a lot of this long-range line skill shot. Sneaky and Jensen comboing together there. Both of them, I think, ended with 9 kills.
Yeah, both 9 kills, 0 deaths, I think.
Yeah, we would need to check. I think they might have stolen one more away from each other. But both of them having huge games, and that's the big thing about this team is that Sneaky and Jensen are extremely strong carries.
Well, and especially Sneaky back on Jhin. You talk about Jhin moving back into the meta. Sneaky's been that player who's always been the first onto the new champion trains, and specifically with that Jhin pick, kind of pioneered it within the North American LCS. Again, his prowess showing up here, picking up player of the game in this third game to give them their victory closing out the weekend. There's that scoreline that you mentioned, 9-0-6, almost 800 damage per minute. Very solid performance from him.
And like we were saying before at the start of the day, sometimes it feels like C9, he has a hard time getting involved just because it is more of a support dominant meta in terms of when you go in, when you go out, who can make the plays. Jin's a great champion for allowing him to just snipe people out. He's always had great skill shot accuracy.
Yep.
And then as soon as you kind of unlock him with a play like that bot dive, you see just what he's capable of doing.
And that's the thing. We're not saying when we come into the beginning of the day where we're touting Jensen as the single point of failure and being the main driver of the team. This is not to say that anyone else on Cloud9 is a bad player.
Nope.
It's just that Sneaky is not of the personality type that's going to totally command a game, be that playmaker, overreaching for things. He's the one who's just going to be in the right place at the right time and give that damage support. But it does require others to take the initiative.
Yeah, he's not pick me, Caitlyn. I'm gonna go smash bot lane. Give me the most lane dominant thing you can. He'll pick for the team, and if the team sets him up, he'll execute exactly what you need him to do, and that's what he was able to do this game.
Cloud9 will be happy to come away with a victory for Dignitas. Struggles continue here on the second day of the weekend for them, but they've got plenty of time to turn things around, still sitting at 5-3. Time for us to now throw you over to Game 2 of Team Envy and FlyQuest. That's happening over on NALCS 2. Enjoy.